5, 4,
Four,
3, 2,
two,
1.
There it is.
The Record Shepherds. We are back for another episode.
On a Saturday afternoon, this is
Yeah.
the new improved daytime, not after work when everyone's absolutely knackered and dragging themselves to the studio on a Monday evening.
We might have to switch that up, man. I actually feel great right now.
Yeah, I feel good. The coffee's just kicking in, and I think it's going to be a good episode. So for those of you watching on YouTube, you will note that we have a guest on the sofa this week. So
Danny looks different.
yeah, Danny looks different. Yeah. So we have the very talented singer-songwriter based in Toronto by way of Vancouver, who's recently signed a management deal with Creative Titans based out of Miami and New York City, and is enjoying tremendous success with the hit single of her latest album, Love on the Weekend. Please welcome to the couch, everybody, Aria Ohlsson. There you go. How was that for an intro?
That was great.
Yeah,
thank
sufficient?
you.
I think, Jason, you got to go on tour with her and just do that intro every single time she plays.
Yeah, I can walk out. Yeah, my rates are pretty good. So,
You know, actually, it's funny. I've seen shows where people have comedians open for them, like music acts. It kind of cools the vibe. It's really nice, rather than just having like a music act and then another music act. So maybe, yeah. Yeah, I'll tell your management company.
That's well, I guess there's no danger of the headline artist being upstaged. It's just two different acts. I've seen that recently where I went to a couple of shows and I was like, damn, that support act were a bit too good.
Yeah, that's interesting. Have you ever been in that situation where, you know, like you have seen like a show and like the supporting act, you're like, dang, that was actually way better than what I came to see?
I don't go to that many shows, to be honest. And if I do, I usually I sound so bad, but I usually just go to watch who I came there for. It sounds so bad.
I get that. Everyone's busy, and you know, it's like if you got loads of free time, then you have got that luxury. Or if it's your job, right? A&R got to do that.
I think it's kind of unfortunate. Like, even working in the industry, you start to adapt that mentality, whereas before you would just go to a show just to go to one, but now it's like, oh, okay. And that sucks, right? Because you want to go to a show to enjoy it. So
yeah, I'm still in the luxury of being able to pick and choose somewhat. So I don't have to go to shows, but no, I still love the shows. But
so how's your Saturday going? How's New York treating you so far?
New York is always great. I want to move here very badly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's always good. It's nice out. So yeah, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, it's a great city to live in, and everyone who lives in New York loves it, but everyone who lives in New York kind of also hates it a little bit as well. So it's one of those things. But what brings you to town? What you grace us with your presence in New York for 2 or 3 days?
Yeah, I'm here till Monday, so just doing music stuff and have some friends with me. So
good stuff, and enjoying the New York pizza, I hope.
I actually haven't had any pizza.
Oh, we'll have to remedy that.
Yeah,
we'll have to remedy that. So well, look, it's great to have you, and thanks for coming in. And I think, you know, as we always talk about in this podcast, the whole sort of like raison d'etre of the Record Shepherds is to try to impart experience, I guess, that each artist or producer or person working in this music industry has experienced, and pass that on to the wider community. And maybe, like I always describe it as like reaching back to give the next person a hand up who's not as far along in that journey. And we were super excited to welcome you to the couch, because we think that you're like the perfect guest for us to interview and just have a talk with. It's not an interview, it's just a conversation as to like your journey, and you're obviously still on that journey as an independent artist, but no doubt having some great success and making strides towards your goals as a an artist, professional artist.
Definitely. Yeah, let's take it back. So you grew up in Vancouver, or you grew up in Toronto, or a little bit of both?
Yeah, so I was actually born in Toronto, but
Okay.
raised kind of both.
Okay.
So was back and forth quite a bit. I just moved back to Toronto last year, so I still have family in Vancouver though.
Did you grow up with like a musical family? Was it always around you, or something you just stumbled into?
I feel like being Filipino, there's a lot of karaoke that goes on
Yeah.
in the family.
Oh, amazing.
Family gatherings,
Yeah.
karaoke.
That's
but
brilliant.
like nobody in my family that I know, my siblings and everything, not into music. But like so just me.
Just you. Yeah. What was do you remember the first song you ever wrote?
Oh man, honestly, I have no idea.
Or I thought you were going to ask, do you remember the first karaoke song you ever did?
Oh, that's good. What's your go-to karaoke?
Nora Jones, Don't Know Why.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
I see.
get people in their
See your
feels.
voice sitting that.
I
Yeah.
think some of the best parts about karaoke is the fact that people are bad. So it's always funny when you have that one person who's actually good at singing, just like kill it, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
I feel there's a lot of that in America. Like growing up, in the UK, karaoke's a very different animal.
Yeah?
Back home, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Here they take it
Just a
pretty
bunch
serious.
of Irish
yeah.
guys screaming in the
Yeah, a lot of that for sure.
So
but
we get from karaoke to songwriting to performing. What was the decision point for you to say, okay, this is something that I want to do as a career? This is like my passion.
I don't honestly. I feel like I started really young because when I was young, I was in choir until like high school, and then I think it was around like 9 or 10. I just asked my parents I wanted a guitar, and kind of just went into it. I didn't really have that thought of, oh, I'm gonna do this. I didn't even think it was possible because I was just so young, and I've just been kind of doing it ever since.
That's amazing.
So it's kind of, I think with a lot of artists, you hear this time, it's already in them almost, that whatever it is, that art or just that energy that has to come out eventually as some sort of creative output. So it sounds like that was very much the case for you. And what was the journey like for you in terms of finding your style or your genre as an artist?
Yeah, it's been tough. I feel like I'm still figuring it out as I go, because every year, every day, it's different. I feel, especially working with different producers and the relationships that you build, and everybody has their own style, and sometimes you can mold into other, like a producer's style, and kind of can get stuck in that. But I think this year I've been finding my way a lot more with that. So
That's good. In our like little pre-production, we had talked about some songwriting stuff that you had done before, and it's funny that you say you're in the process of finding yourself, because I feel like with some artists it's almost the reverse, right? Where they're sort of stuck in their own box in terms of their songwriting, and then as they mature, they learn, oh, it's actually good to write with other people and other producers. But it seems like you sort of had the opposite, where like you're actually really good at collaborating with people, and out of that you're now trying to find what your sound is.
yeah, no, I think like I've been working with a producer, Matt Law, who's amazing. I've been getting into sessions here and there, but I think being able to collaborate with other people, and it's like therapy session. It's good to have those, and thank God I've never had a bad session. But
Wow.
Wow, that's good. That's good. That probably says something about you as well. That's I think especially for songwriters, and when you're doing sessions like that, it's it's also a people business. The music industry, you have to be able to like get on with people and quickly gel, especially if it's a new session or whatever, and you got to find that sort of relationship and creative bond, I guess, is the sort of way to look at it. So that's probably testament to you, your temperament as an artist and a person, I guess.
Are you like on the sessions? Are you like lighting the incense, setting the candles, or what's the laying the mats down? What's the vibe?
I think, you know, just getting to know the person, kind of breaking down their walls, and, you know, as much as I'm coming in there and you know, I'm writing a song, I think, you know, being able to be open and honest with the person that you're working with. And, you know, I feel like a lot of people are scared to be vulnerable, and everyone tries to act too cool. But I think it's really nice when you meet someone and then, you know, they're able to break down those walls with you. So
Is that like a conscious, is that a conversation that you have? You know, that you sit at the start of a session, you meet like a new producer or a writer for the first time that you're collaborating with. Is that like a, you know, a specific conversation you try to have about, you know, how you want it to go in terms of that authenticity and being vulnerable, or does it just happen with the vibe that you're experiencing?
I think, you know, like what I usually ask, I'm just straight up. I'm like, what are you going through? Everybody's going through something. Like,
That's great. I love that.
Feels like I gotta call my insurance if I'm gonna write a song with you. get the invoices straight.
I love that. I think like that's something for me personally that I look for as a fan of artists is like authenticity. I think it's something we all look for in relationships with, you know, no matter what types of, whether it's a relationship you have with an artist as a fan or just in your personal relationships, whatever, like authenticity is something I think appeals to us as humans, on even if you're not consciously aware of it, just on a subconscious level, we all admire that. So that's a pretty I love that straight up approach.
Thank you.
I suppose people would warm to that.
Yeah. And going back a little bit to sort of the origins of your artistry, do you maybe not remember like the first song you ever wrote, but like the first song that you wrote that you were proud of and you were like, you know, this is pretty good. I think I want to put this out or like share it with people.
I think probably Drive.
I love that song. That's I think I'm a fan.
Thank you.
Tell us about it.
So I actually wrote that about LA. I had a bad trip. All my sessions got canceled.
Oh man.
It was raining, and my friend he asked me if I wanted to go to this boxing class. I ended up getting really sick, and this one day I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go. So I went to this boxing class called City of Angels, and when I went back to my friend's house, I was like, I'm just gonna write a song, you know, like it's been just a shit trip. So, you know, I basically, it was a song to myself, basically saying, you know, that, sorry.
No, you're good.
It was basically a song to myself to basically, you know, to not give up, and when things go wrong, to just kind of keep going, keep driving. So that's
awesome.
pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what it's all about, right? That's what makes you an artist, is distilling down life experiences and, you know, emotions and everything that's happening into some sort of, like we talked about, like an output, right? And that's essentially, you know, at its core, what it comes down to, being an artist. So the fact you can do that, it just means, you're obviously born to do it. So.
Yeah. So you've talked about being in New York. You've talked a little bit about LA. I want to hear more about, you know, your thoughts on like the Toronto music scene, because I actually have friends who live in Toronto. I've heard very good things. Do you feel like it's more of a collaborative sort of environment, or what has been your experience with the music scene in Toronto?
You know, I think before, when I was younger, I felt like more in it, if I'm being completely honest. I think it's definitely a collaborative city. Everyone's, you know, wanting to work, and there's some great artists that, you know, come out of Toronto. But personally, like, I feel like I've recently, like, you know, just working with Matt, a producer, has just been a really great relationship. So I haven't really been collaborating with many people in Toronto in that scene, not really going out, and I also work 2 jobs. I have a
Yeah,
dog.
we'll come on to that. We'll definitely come on to that. So I guess that's just, like you gotta work with people initially, but then once you find something that's working, well then that's the point, right?
We actually hit on that in a previous episode about whether your music career is dictated by where you live, or if it's something that is not, and you can branch out and actually connect with people in different cities.
I think even with COVID, like it's been, doing Zoom sessions and everything, having that has been great. I would prefer, in person, because it's hard online to really connect with the person in that session. But I think it's been great to be able to have that opportunity to, have sessions with people in LA while I'm sitting at home in Toronto.
Yeah, definitely.
What was your experience like the first time you were doing that, like having a session? Like, I'm curious to know. I've never done a session like that, so I'm curious. Like, do you is it like you book in like 1 hour and just do it, or do you sort of like keep the camera running, have a bit of a break, come back?
You kind of just it's for a couple hours, or depending how long you can go, but it's kind of just like any other session if you're in person, right? You're just kind of vibing and just writing. But I've had some great sessions, sometimes there's the delay, but
Yeah. Oh,
What'd you say? You said C? I don't
know. But yeah, so that I've obviously I feel Toronto or Canadians, let's say, they all seem to have there's a disproportionate amount of success that comes out of kind of we're talking about Drake, The Weeknd, Bieber, all these hugely successful artists coming out of Canada. And I think what do you guys got going on up there? What's the secret sauce? Oh, we were told not to talk about that.
No, talk about the secret sauce.
The government won't have it. But yeah, is there, and this is what you touched upon it, and I do want to come on to this, but is there a work ethic or something with Canadians that is different, or or is it the willingness to collaborate, or have you got curious to know if someone actually from there and living there, if they see anything different? Maybe you're so close to it you don't actually realize it's any different. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like as an artist, you have that motivation of wanting to go to the States and be in the States, and maybe that, I have no idea.
Maybe that actually is it. And that complacency is sort of works in the reverse. And we don't have to necessarily compare musicians of living in different areas, but it's almost like when you're surrounded by it, you're sort of oh, it's always there. I can, if you live in New York, I can always just move to LA, but when you're sort of trying to come in, it's a bit different mentality.
Yeah, I think that motivation.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it's but I think it must be knowing that there is a path like that, and and there's obviously music isn't a new thing, but this is sort of going off on a bit of a tangent here, but I remember a few years ago when Conor McGregor was a bit more popular than he is now. He used to be the thing that no one had, there wasn't a path for an Irishman to fight in the UFC, and there wasn't a path. There'd been no Irishmen as champions, whatever. And now that he's gone and done that, there's this whole community in Ireland now of all these kids wanting to get into mixed martial arts, and I guess it's keeping them out of trouble to some extent. But
circling back to your boxing class.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I'm not him.
Did Conor McGregor inspire you? But no, I think just having that sort of people, as we talked about, who've started that journey that you're on, ahead of you, and that sort of just showing you that it is a possibility. I think that's incredibly powerful, for the next generation of artists, etc.
So I think that's important. You have this amazing project out called Love on the Weekend. is that your first official project?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Tell me about the writing process for that. Was it more of a collaborative thing with the producer you were talking about, or?
That was worked on with a couple producers.
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely a process. That was, I think, years of work just put into it.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone, that's either not in the industry or, doesn't understand that, it does take time to release a song and put it out. So that was something that, I'm glad that it's out now finally. So
do you feel like, in terms of maybe not even your strategy, but like how you put music out, because I know a lot of artists who tend to be a bit more precious with the music that they write, and they want to really make sure they have a good plan behind it before they put it out. And then there are others who have the mentality of just put as bunch of music out as you can, it'll affect the algorithm, all that. Do you have like a bunch of songs in the stash that like you can't wait to put out, or you're more like strategic about like what you choose to be front facing?
I'm really excited to be releasing, hopefully soon. But sorry, what was the question?
So do you feel like you're more precious about the music that you put out, and like you like to take your time, or you, as soon as you like are recorded, you just put it out?
I feel like I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to that. Like, I try to not get so attached to my work. I think that's really important. But, I think there are some that you should be a little bit strategic in it, in a way. But I think whatever, for me, it's like the feeling of it,
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, I think it's, I guess, trying to find that balance between patience, right, and not just, and making sure it's like you're satisfied and it's a true reflection of what you're setting out to achieve, but not being so precious that like you hang on to it. Because I think that can be, I think a lot of independent artists, or certainly when they're starting out, can fall victim of that, just thinking it could always be better. And we talked about this on this podcast, especially Danny in here. That was one of the things that he tells a lot of like songwriters that he works with, like, finish it, make sure you finish it and don't hang on to it forever. You gotta release music ultimately. So but yeah, no, I think one thing I think it's like important to recognize, it's like for us anyway, it's like tremendous success of the lead single of that album, also titled Love on the Weekend. And congratulations, because that has recently surpassed, now in excess of 10 million streams on Spotify and 10 million streams on Apple Music. So upwards of 20 million streams. I mean, that is no small achievement. That is a round of applause.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. I mean, not only is it like testament to your talent as a songwriter and artist, but I think it's like, well, I mean, you tell us, how does that feel?
It feels
achieving that sort of a milestone.
Amazing. It's kind of something you don't really see, you hope for, but when it happened, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, we did that. So
like pride, or like, I guess what are the emotions?
I'm just really happy, like very proud, of myself and just of the people that put the work into it and was able to get there. And it's really nice to see that people can relate to it and in their own way, whatever that may be.
What does Love on the Weekend mean to you? What's the difference between the weekend and the weekday?
The difference? That song I wrote in a time that I was just, that was a self-love kind of thing, like, I'll give you the weekend, but the rest of that's for me. So
that's good. Self-love is important.
And what's been, there'll be a lot of our listeners and viewers who, you know, they're not as far along in their artistic journey as you are, and you know, I think it'd be a dream for a lot of those to hit those sorts of numbers with the track that they'd released. What do you feel has been the sort of the magic, let's say, for that particular song? Like, I know that we talked that it's been included on playlists, but like, as in my opinion, it's like you have to have the raw ingredients there. You have to have a good song. You know, it's, we say it all the time. It's like, where's the fucking song? So, but yeah, like, what do you feel? What do you feel is the thing that's made that song really kick on? Any thoughts on that?
Like the reason why it got to that place. I don't know, like the streams, right? Like,
yeah.
You know, it was doing pretty well when I first released it, and then it kind of really popped off when BTS just put it on their stories.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Well, that's
but
great. Like, that's amazing to see, because it's like that's the community aspect that we're sort of into, of like, you know, artists helping artists and the community helping the community sort of thing. But look, I think it's fair to say that it's like you have to have, that'll only get you so far. You have to have that organic growth and like people actually tuning in, listening to it, adding it to their own playlists, and you know, basically digging the song.
Yeah,
I think there's no shortcut around that. You have to have the raw ingredients.
and I think just, you know, staying consistent and connecting with your fans and building those relationships just as you would any other relationship, you know, and, you know, I think, just making that community.
Well, definitely, I definitely want to circle back to that and talk a little bit about social media and your strategy on that, because I've seen you, I think you do a really good job of that personally. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But I also, you know, want to hear a little bit, you know, or make people aware that, you know, it doesn't just happen overnight. You know, 20 million streams on one track is great, and you know, I see your streaming numbers are growing on the other tracks, which is great, which actually shows that there's, you know, interest of fans. We talk about the TikTok success that a lot of artists enjoy, where a track blows up on TikTok, but it doesn't often translate into, you know, fans for that artist, whereas you seem now to be developing that, which is great. So congratulations on that. But it doesn't happen, you know, overnight. Like, this is the thing, and there's the other thing. It takes work, and like, I have been particularly impressed by your work ethic, and I know you're an extremely busy person, and there's all sorts of sacrifice that goes on behind the scenes. So you posted an Instagram reel recently where it like gave your followers a little bit of an insight into your week. But let's talk a little bit about that. Give the listeners an idea of like what's it actually like in a week of Aria Ohlsson.
Oh my God, I don't think you want to know.
Well, you've got a dog to look after.
Oh yeah, he's my roommate. Yeah, no, honestly, it's a lot of work. You know, I work 6 days a week. I work 13 to 16 hours.
Wow.
And then, you know, after work, I go home and I'll write, or I'll work on, you know, some songs that I'm working on. Sundays are strictly for studio days, and I have to travel an hour, and I travel with my dog to the studio. So
How are you getting to the studios? You driving there, or
I take the train.
taking the train?
Yeah, so it's the GO train, and then it's about 45 to an hour, and then Matt picks me up.
Wow.
I've seen the studio on. It looks amazing. It's like idyllic.
Beautiful.
And the fact that you're working that many hours and still taking the time to actually refine your social media and like do that type of marketing, I think is incredible. So is there like, when it comes to how you parse your time, is there like a content day that you set aside to record all that stuff, or is it basically just as you go along throughout the week?
I think, I'm still working out, what my schedule is like in a way where it makes me comfortable. Like, I feel like some people can do it and just, be strictly on that schedule. But for me, I kind of just go with it. But I usually during the week, I just try to record as much content. And then I think by the end, I'll just put it all together, do the voiceovers.
Wow.
It takes a lot of takes.
So like for the TikTok strategy or the Instagram stuff, are you like looking up what these trends are and like adapting that to your content, or it's like more you're just sort of thinking of like what to do?
For me, like obviously, go on TikTok and stuff and you see these different videos, but for me, I think just showing, who I am, really being honest, and, I try not to follow that. I feel like just being who you are is enough, so, yeah.
Seems to be a trend in terms of our conversation with you. You're pretty authentic in terms of the music that you write, how you collaborate, and also in your online content. Is that something that you just picked up on, or like the artists that influence you that you follow on social media, do they do the same things?
I think even when I was younger, like, you're growing up and trying to figure it out, I think I just got to a point where I want to be more open and honest online, and offline, of course. It's hard. Sometimes it can be hard to share that and figuring it out, especially sharing your art. It's very vulnerable. It's a vulnerable place to be. And if I can show that online and help somebody in my songs, or if it's just, those little videos, like, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So
that's good. That's I as I say, like I just think there's that's what people want. I think more and more.
Yeah.
I'm sitting trying to think about at what point did it start like craving that, or like realizing that like that's what I'm after. And maybe it's from years previously of social media is a relatively new concept still. Like we're in a fair bit now, but there's trends, and the sort of obviously there've been trends of people, and this still goes on, of course, like trying to demonstrate like the best version of themselves, and it being so staged and things like that. And I think like maybe it's just a trend where we're maybe getting a little bit past that now, and like actually people who are being more authentic stand out from the crowd, and it's actually refreshing somehow.
Yeah. Is there anything that's off limits?
Off limits? Like,
in terms of like your social media and like what you choose to share with your audience.
I don't think.
It sounds like not like consciously anyway.
Yeah.
And like that is interesting what you're saying, that you record and you get all your stuff done, and then at the end of the week you piece it all together. Like hearing that, like it occurs to me, and I've heard other artists like talk about it in this way. It's like they actually have to schedule time for their social media, like whatever you want to call it, content or like assets or whatever. And some people are like very regimented about it, I guess. Like what's your take on that? Or are you now just in a habit of doing it, or do you set aside, do you give yourself like goals at the start of the week?
I try to give myself goals. I'm definitely I'm just kind of as it goes, and whatever, like if I'm tired, I'm working a lot. If I'm tired, then I need to listen to my body and listen to myself. And if I can do that, I can do that. But like, there's only so much, But I think, just at least taking that time, that one day, or 20 minutes just to edit that video. And like, it's great because you can do everything from your phone.
Yeah,
so.
Totally. Do you struggle, or that in itself, I feel, is like a creative element of say the job, but it is, trying to become a professional, establish a career as a professional artist. Like, do you have to be in the mood? Does it come easily to you, in terms of like what you think, ahead of time, or does it just kind of come natural? Are you lucky like that?
Like with writing?
No,
or-
just your content, what you're choosing to put out, your posts and things like that on social media.
I think there was one time where I was like just trying to think of, different things to talk about. Sometimes it can be hard, you definitely, it's like writer's block sometimes. Like you're creating something from nothing, and it's like I just want people to relate, or they can take something out of it. And for me, when I'm posting content, that's what I think of. I'm trying to think of, can somebody learn something from this? Can they relate to it? Or if it's something that maybe that they were thinking about that they thought about in their mind but never said out loud. So
that's really interesting to hear it like that. So you're actually putting yourself in the shoes of the audience and actually thinking like, what do they want?
Yeah.
That's clever, to be honest with you. I think
give them what they want.
yeah, give them what they want. Exactly. Where's that guitar?
It's really cool to see though. Like you've definitely, because I feel like there's a bit of a misconception in terms of how people think success happens in the music industry. Like you've definitely been putting in the work yourself and like actually working to finance your career up to a point. And then you start to see these little cosigns happen, whether it be a really popular band sharing your music on Instagram, whether it be like a management company and like other people who actually believe in your career almost as much as you do. How was that transition from like you're sort of doing it all yourself to actually finally getting other people on board and being like, okay, thank God, like somebody else like believes in my career as much as I do?
Like the process of that?
Yeah.
It was hard. There is so many days that I just wanted to give up, to be honest, but there was always that voice inside me that, just keep going. And, it's just surrounding yourself with the right people, and especially in music industry is great, but, there's also, just like any other place, like it's just hard sometimes to find those people, and you just need to, it'll eventually come. So
I think that's true. Like a lot of things in life, it takes you a while, moving cities even, like to find your people, but inevitably, I guess you keep doing your thing and you putting that authentic version of yourself, like it does happen. So, yeah, well, congratulations on like staying the course, I guess, because like that, hearing that message, I think is truly inspirational for a lot of listeners who probably are not at that stage and going through those sorts of thoughts like right here and now. So, I mean, but it has worked out, and now you have Creative Titans on board. Congratulations. And we actually have Ed in the corner here who's sitting very patiently.
Shout out to Ed.
Shout out to Ed and Creative Titans. So what has that been like, going from an independent artist and doing things for yourself to now have I guess it's the next stage of the journey where you feel a little bit more like that's the next step up, it's the next level up, I guess. So what's that been like for you, and have you noticed differences, etc.?
Well, having my managers Ron and Ed have been amazing, so they have been very helpful, and it's still a lot of work.
Oh yeah, they don't do it all for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
But no, it's been a great journey. It's been really just finding the way and figuring it out still. So
totally, and I guess it's like a new part of the routine. I should imagine, like check-ins, meetings,
Is it
sort of thing?
yeah.
I was gonna say, is it hard letting go of control of some things since you've been doing it essentially yourself for so long, or is that it's actually been nice to be like, here you go, you handle whatever this is?
I feel like it's been really, great to be able to work with people and give that trust to people, I feel like I'm pretty easy.
That's good.
Hopefully.
Yeah. We'll maybe get Ed on the couch for 5 minutes after.
Get a different perspective on that question. Yeah.
But
No, I can imagine that. I think I see that in your personality. But I mean, I think it's that's a big part of it. It's a very personal relationship with like an artist have with a manager, and you talked about like trust there. I mean, it is something that you like. It's important that I think that there is that sort of vibe. So like, is that something you felt when you met with Ed and Ron, or took a little while to develop? Like, what was the moment where you were like, yeah, this is good. These are the shepherds for me.
They were just, very honest and open, and energy to me is really important. And I feel like I can tell when someone's, not a great person, and they just never gave me that. And, they have been so great, since the day that I met them to now. And yeah, so.
Yeah. And I mean, it must be amazing to have, guys with like an ear for music like that who can, now you got a sounding board, and back to the authenticity thing, what's that relationship like? Do they call you out if it's I'm not sure about that song, or like what's that relationship?
No, they're honest, and I'm excited to show the music all the time, and I love the feedback that they give, and just breaking down everything. And there might be something that I don't hear or see, and that they can pick up on. So it's been really great in that sense.
I think that's awesome.
Brilliant.
That's something that people take for granted, just the art of songwriting and how collaborative it can be. Would you say you prefer writing a song or performing a song?
You have to give up one forever. As of today.
As of today. Yeah.
Yeah, I say please don't.
Yeah.
Man, I get so nervous before shows.
Really?
Yeah, but when I'm in it, I love it. But I love both of them. I can't pick one.
Can't pick one.
It's just like there are some days where I'll sit down with my guitar and I can't think of anything, and those are the frustrating moments. But it's just listening to your body and yourself, and you don't need to force it all the time, so.
Are you constantly like looking for the next song, or do you find refuge in like going back to like songs that you've written and like playing those again or performing those?
With writing, I think like finding inspiration, right? In that sense. For me, it's different, finding inspiration. I feel like poems or books or different stories and scenarios. Like what I've been doing a lot is kind of going back to one relationship that I was in and looking at all the different perspectives and kind of breaking it down, if that makes sense. And like falling in love with someone, falling out of love with someone, like those are the different, scenarios and everything. But I think that.
Yeah, that's
Hopefully that made sense.
No, and you mentioned poems. So are you somebody that starts off with like lyrics, or do you start off with melodies? Like, what's your process?
It's different. Usually I'll get into the studio and I'll just think of, chord progressions. For me, I think when I'm writing a song, it's like kind of when you're reading a book, like you want to, catch the reader when you first open that book. And the first lyrics that I write, I want it to be strong. And, not every word's going to be strong. But if it's in the melody, like different things, like nothing has to be perfect. But yeah, so.
Okay.
That's pretty cool. And tell me this, like, this is something I always wondered. Like, you play guitar, and you do that very nicely. Accompanies your voice. Is that part like? I mean, I think we all play a little bit here. Tim, the drums. I play the guitar and piano, and Danny plays just about everything. And for me, like,
You
I
got
guess,
a band going on.
yeah, let's go.
We can do a session.
Do you know, like, you play guitar, you're good at it. Do you ever like practice anymore, or is it mostly now just about writing and creating now?
Mhm.
I know I don't practice anymore. You know.
I see, like practicing your instrument versus
Yeah.
just writing songs.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I just noodle.
When I was younger, I would sit in my room for hours and just play the guitar till like my fingers hurt. But obviously it's now I have 2 jobs, I have a dog, and it's really hard, but I've been really focusing on, getting into the studio. And before I would have just songs ready to go, and I would just write 3 songs or 4 in sessions. And then, but I've been challenging myself by just kind of doing everything on the spot, just kind of letting it flow in that sense.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's good. I feel like that sort of contributes to your maturity as a musician or as an artist over time. Like, so, I know a lot of songwriters, and they often tell me the songs that you write when you're really, really young are often not that good because you haven't really experienced life yet. And like you're really trying to be like a virtuosic instrumentalist, like whether it be piano or guitar. And I feel like the breakthrough is when you sort of learn to let all of like the technical stuff go and actually pull from your life. Like, what do I actually feel? Like, what do I actually have to say? Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's, everybody has gone through a lot of different things, but I really try to break down. I write a lot of love songs and, like heartbreak and sad songs like that. But that's where I find my inspiration. So, yeah.
Heartbreak. Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
No, absolutely. Just listening to you, like it does sound like, I think that's actually a testament to where you are on your journey. That like, there's a lot. You're very thoughtful about, what you're doing and like actually maximizing, whether it be the time or, thinking about what the followers on social media actually want. There's nothing's. It's not just random, you like, and I suppose that's like a learning curve, as well. But it obviously says something about you, and it's probably one of the reasons why you are enjoying success and leveling up, etc. So that's there's definitely lessons there for a lot of the viewers.
Some good takeaways, like
takeaways.
Be consistent, be authentic.
Have the work ethic. And I would say to that, like, we didn't touch upon that, but there's sacrifice that goes along with that, like a lot of sacrifice if you're working so hard like that. But it's the same thing you hear like time and time again. Like there's just no shortcuts for that. You have to, and ultimately I feel that's what separates a lot of successful, like, forget about artists, just people from others. Is like there hits a point where people do just give up, they fall away, but the people who continue are the people that have that passion and that drive and that work ethic, and ultimately they succeed because they're on that road. They learn from experience and they progress and they get better and they don't give up,
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of times where I wanted to give up, but like nobody's gonna get you there but you, and it's hard. Like it's, I'm sitting here today, but there are some days where I wake up and I'm like, even looking at the 10 million, 20 million streams, like it's amazing. But I think it's also, social media is just, there's so much pressure on that as well. So, it's okay to, have those off days and everything, and just focus and make sure you're surrounded with good people. And I've had to cut out, some certain friends in the past year, just that now looking back, that has helped me and, got me where I need to be. And yeah, so
that's sacrifice right there, as far as I'm concerned, but it's what's needed, it's what's necessary. And if the goal, whatever you're doing, if you deem it to be worth it, then it is worth it.
And for the people that that you sort of have to drop in your life, you gain new people as well. And I think it's often said, like, you are essentially the sum of who you surround yourself with. So yeah, I think you have people who have similar goals as you and who are striving towards that thing. That's nothing but positive.
Yeah. So what do we got going on next? Is there what are you doing right now? When can Aria Ohlsson fans look forward to the next release? Yeah, tell us a little bit about what's coming, what you've been doing.
Oh man, I'm so excited.
That sounds good.
Ed knows how excited I am.
Excited, yeah.
No, I just feel like this body of work that I'm working on right now is just more of who I am now, and it's just I'm proud and happy and excited, in the new year that we're going to be releasing some things. So yeah,
amazing. And is that those songs you've been working with Matt in the idyllic studio that I see?
Yeah, every Sunday.
Fantastic. So that is exciting, and I guess that you're excited just because, well, for those reasons, that it's sort of fresh stuff and more of a representation of.
Yeah, I just I feel more in control of the music, and working with Matt and every Sunday and being able to kind of break it down with him, and he's just so amazing to work with because he's not that type of person that will have it have to be like a certain way, or just kind of lets me do my thing and then we just go with it. So
I think that's a sign of a good collaborator, and a producer. Like we've talked about that before. It's like the producer's role, and this is what Danian talks about as producer. His role is to bring out the best of the artist, as opposed to like
imposing.
Going to do it, yeah. So yeah, that's awesome to hear. That's awesome to hear, and so it's going to be in the new year then.
Yeah.
New music.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Where can people find you on socials? What are the handles?
Aria Ohlsson, all platforms.
Hey, okay, very simple. It's not like Aria X32.
No.
Doesn't take a marketing genius. No, you probably should keep it simple.
Yeah. Well, there's an H in Ohlsson. I messed up the spelling whenever I was first trying to spell your name, so it's OHLSSON.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, go check it out and check out the music. Aria has a truly exquisite voice, and that's a natural talent. So the songwriting is fantastic as well, and everyone should go check her out and add to those streams. Let's get 20 million to 40 million.
There you go. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate any guest on the couch. And just thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Like, keep doing your thing. Make sure you get some pizza in New York. You can't live in New York City without getting pizza. It'd be a crime.
That's what I was actually going to talk to you about that. So have you eaten Filipino food in New York?
No.
Okay, I got some suggestions.
Okay.
We'll offline it. I'm a bit of a foodie, so we can talk about that.
I love it.
Yeah. I don't want to give it to our massive audience out there. The spoiler the hidden gems.
There'll be lines down the street.
Yeah.
Tim can't get his Filipino treats anymore.
Yeah. I got you.
No, thank you guys so much for having me.
Our pleasure. Thank you. Yeah, round of applause for Aria Ohlsson. And I think there was a lot of good learnings from there. It was great to hear a little bit about your story and where you are on the journey. And it's going to be great to follow along as you go from success to success, no doubt. So yeah, we are. You have fans in the Record Shepherds.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, thank you all for listening. We are the Record Shepherds. You can follow us at the Record Shepherds on all social media platforms. You can listen to us where podcasts are streamed. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, email us at therecordshepherds@gmail.com. If you have any questions for Aria specifically, feel free to send them through to us, and we can see what we can get for you guys. And if you want to stop by the podcast, email us as well, comment, like, subscribe, all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. We're starting to get emails in now of like questions, which is, that's great. We love to see that. And we do plan on doing an episode where we will address some of those concerns, because actually it turns out that, a lot of these questions, we think that a lot of people will like be wondering the same type of things and would benefit from like responses to those. So we do plan on doing that. And if you're in the New York area and you've got something you'd like to contribute to the conversation, please do hit us up. We'd love to have you, and we welcome anyone who's like on their journey. So I think that's all for this episode, and it just leaves it for me to say until the next exciting episode, continue to tune in, follow the guidance of the Record Shepherds.
Don't be the sheep.
Be the goat.
Woo.
Whoop, 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 whoop.